Hi there, well, welcome to this brief introduction to the planning and scoping module, one of the tools that we've developed as part of the work to update conservation by design. My hope if you're watching this video is that you've decided that you'd like to use that planning scoping tool. So my goal then is to provide a brief introduction to the tool and to give you a little bit of optional homework, all in service of helping you to step through the workshop that we'll be undertaking together more quickly and be better prepared for that workshop. So I'm going to provide a little bit of background, and then I'm going to pull up the tool itself and walk you through the main steps in the tool. And then I'll wrap by describing that optional homework if you would like to take advantage of that opportunity. So we're going to be using Mural as a basis for this tool. So Mural is one of our online whiteboard offerings. If you've used Mural before, you'll know that you can easily add content, move content around. There is no expectation for the tool that you have that familiarity. We have two options available. If you have used Mural and you can add content to a sticky and drag stickies around, you can go ahead and do that yourselves. And if not, as facilitator, I can do that on your behalf. So in terms of the purpose of this planning scoping tool, this was developed based on an ask from teams that we were working with who were developing and improving strategies using conservation by design. So what was happening was that relatively often we'd have a team that would come to us to work on a module, something like a situation analysis or a theory of change. And they'd step into that particular part of the process. And relatively quickly, they'd realize, as with the facilitator, that there was a wide range of different perspectives around what the strategy encompassed. And that divergence meant that the team really couldn't move forward together without resolving those different perspectives. Sometimes, and quite often, that meant that the team would immediately begin to stall. So other times, the team would carry on, but they'd end up with a product, coming out of that step that was really, not of a lot of value to the team. So this tool then is really designed to help you as a team identify are you on the same page around the really important elements that describe what this strategy encompasses. And if there are divergent perspectives, to hone in on where those points of divergence are, and then to help you as a team resolve those, decide if a certain factor is in scope for now, or if it's really out of scope for your work going forward. So the way that we're going to approach this then is using this Mural tool, and let me go ahead and show you what that looks like right now. So hopefully you're seeing the tool zoomed out. I appreciate you can't see much in the way of detail here. But as I said, I'm going to walk you now through the key steps that we undertake as a team together in evaluating the scope of the body of work that you're looking to move forward. So we begin with a quick opportunity to introduce ourselves to one another, to get to know each other a little bit. And then I'll describe in step two the basis of what we'll be doing, provide a little bit of an introduction. Now, if you have watched this video, if all of your team members have watched this, we'll be moving much more quickly through those steps. Step three then is the first step where you really begin to add content. And what I'll ask you to do during step three is to consider some of those really important factors that you think are important for the team to consider as you define the scope of the strategy. And we offer three categories that you might think about those elements within. The first is geographic boundaries. So what is the geographic area within which you'll be looking to work? The second is what we call target-based. These might be thought of as the things that you're looking to help. So that could be nature-based targets or people-based targets. And then the last grouping is what we call thematic targets. And that's a general catch-all where we might think about what are some of the general threats, some of the consequences, or the outcomes that you might want to consider. Now, I do want to emphasize that in this tool, what we are not trying to do is to have you figure out what actions that the Nature Conservancy with partners should undertake. This is not about honing in on the specific actions we're going to be taking. That would occur during strategy selection. So we're going to encourage the team really to stay out of the space of focusing in on particular actions. So as individuals, you'll collectively brainstorm what are the really important factors that you might think of as we think about what the strategy encompasses. Now, typically, you'll think about those in three categories: things you think about as in scope, things you think about as out of scope, or things that you think are really important, but you're not really sure whether or not they are in or out of scope. But we'll generate that list individually so that we end up with a list of factors that the group has identified collectively. What we do then for step number 4 is we assess how much variation do we have among team members as we evaluate those factors in terms of the scope. So each team member will sort all of the factors identified by the group into in scope, I'm not sure, or out of scope. And then that provides the raw material then for the next step in the process, which is where we essentially identify where do we have convergence, where are members of the team already on the same page around scope, and importantly, where do we have lots of uncertainty or areas of divergence. And those two areas, uncertainty or divergence, are then where we're going to sort of focus our attention for the remainder of the workshop. So in step 6, what we do is, as a team, we take those areas of uncertainty and divergence and we discuss them as a group. We step through each one in turn and we try and make a decision. Can we consider this one in scope, or should we think about this one out of scope? So we'll do that together, working through each of those factors. So that means that by the end of this workshop, we've got a list of those factors that are in scope, those factors that can be considered out of scope, given what the team knows today. And that then will be the basis for the team stepping forward together. Now, I do want to emphasize that this is really a starting point for the team. As the team moves forward, you're going to gather new evidence, you're going to have some really rich conversations, and those will inevitably lead you to reconsidering scope. There may be some things that you thought were in, you later decide are out, and vice versa. So this isn't designed to provide a rigid framework that you never consider again. Really what we're focused on here is trying to make sure that the team is sufficiently aligned around scope that you can productively move forward together. So in terms of, I mentioned that there's a potential homework for you here, and that goes back to step 3. One of the things that we found really useful is for team members to come to the workshop having already thought about what are those really important elements of scope. What are the things that I think we have to have resolution around in order for us to be able to move forward together? So what I'm going to ask you to do individually, and you can do this before the workshop or you can do it during the workshop, is to think of no more than 3 factors that you might consider in each of these categories of geographic, target-based, or thematic. So if you want to come to the workshop having initially sort of written down a few answers to this, we'll be able to step in and work forward much more rapidly together. So thank you so much for listening to this brief introductory presentation. Hopefully it's given you a sense of how we're going to be spending our time together. And I'm really looking forward to the workshop and having the chance to understand and learn more about your strategy and the work you're doing on behalf of the Nature Conservancy. Thanks so much.